I'm your host, and here we are to fight CPS and stop taking our children. It's March 7th, approximately uh, 7 p.m. This is my evening podcast. Let me see. Hold on a second. Try to find my wiring there. And it's a warm welcome because you guys are really had a hard time. You've had a hard time with your CPS case. I don't know what stages you're in or how long you've been fighting CPS or if you know about CPS. Now, CPS stands for the Child Protection Systems all over the USA in every state, every county. It's also worldwide in every country. And it's a government entity. Now, it's supported by the government. And what happened was in the US, Congress mandated that social services protect our children from neglect and abuse. For so long, for over 200 years, our children have been abused. They've been abused for eons of time. But we only a little over 200 years old. The first case was in the 1600s. So maybe it's more like 300 years, okay? And for a long time, these children were abused, but they were protected by different things called societies and different organizations. And, the workforce was heavily with children in the 20s and 30s. So we had all these attempts, wealthy individuals, wealthy organizations to protect our children. But Congress wanted every county to have a CPS system. Now, I use the word CPS meaning Child Protection Systems. Now, I know there's a lot of them called the Child Protection Services. Then there's other groups that will say the Department of Children's Services. And then there'll be the Department of Family Services, the Cabinet. It goes on and on and on. There's so many different names. It's too hard. So when I say CPS, I mean the Child Protection Systems. So that's what we're here for, is how to fight them, how to maneuver around them, and how to get your kids back. Not all CPSs are bad, but there's enough of them. I call them rogue CPS because they found the idea of money more important than anything else. They found the idea of money more important than anything else. What I mean by that is that a lot of them, it's $1 trillion business. Money frees flowing from the U.S. government out to the states, and from the states it goes to the county. There's no accountability. There's no one as a watchdog, and there's no board of supervisors or directors. There should be, whether you're at the federal level, the state level, or the county level. It's all bad. Now, not every CPS is bad. There are good ones out there too, but it's hard to separate the good from the bad. All I know is that if they immediately invade your home or think they got to enter your home or take your children right away, then that is a bad sign that CPS is corrupt. Now, I'm going to try to tell you how it works, but before I do, I need to go over a couple things about my live stream. I've been doing this now for 17 months. I started in October 2023. I've talked to over 1,000 people, and I've talked to all 50 states, including the District of Columbia, and 21 countries. Yes, you heard me right, 21 countries. They need help also, and I like to, and I've had to help them. So far, we've had Indonesia, India, the Middle East with Libya and Saudi Arabia, then Africa with Liberia, Sudan, Rwanda, Mozambique, and then we have two provinces in South Africa. Then going up to Europe, we've had England, Scotland, and Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Across the pond in North America, we've had 4 provinces of Canada. As I said, all the states, people have called in from the states. Then we've had the District of Columbia. South the border, we've had Mexico. Then down south in South America, we had Grenada. Then across the South Pacific, we've had New Zealand and the land down under called Australia with its 2 states. So, as I say, I've been talking to a lot of you. Some of you called in, even from Africa, country code 27 calls in. England, country code 44. Canada and Mexico, they just use area codes like we do, so there's no country code. We are 01, by the way. If you want to call us from one of the outside countries, R is 01. Our country code's 01. I'll be putting my number up in a little bit here. But I'm glad that you found this live stream. Now, I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week. And I've come on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time and evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. On the weekends, I move my time up. I'm on at 8 o'clock. So tomorrow for Saturday and Sunday, I'm on at 8 o'clock, a couple hours earlier. Now, when I say Pacific Standard Time, I'm on California. I broadcast live from the beach from a place called Surf City, USA. And it's a live stream from my home. And I still have my family together, what's left of them, after I had a terrible case of CPS. I had an awful case. 3 of my 6 children that I helped raise were kidnapped. And the older 6 have families of their own, and luckily they weren't brought into the mess. But my 3 young ones were taken. And they were taken, their life was not threatened. They were in school at the time. Being in school is not a dangerous situation. But be careful. The CPS social workers will take your kids no matter if they're not in danger or not. They think they have to. They make their own rules. They're not transparent. And they'll make your life miserable. They'll make grandparents' life miserable. It's sad that there's a group of individuals that are so bad. And you that call in usually are talking about the bad situations. Now, I've had 5 social workers call in, which has been great. One of them was Carol from Maryland, and she talked for 40 minutes about how wonderful she does her CPS program. A lot different than what we hear about. And she was from Maryland. But I've had other people from Maryland that have horrendous problems. Then we had another social worker who is a third party that was helping out the CPS system in Iowa. And another one that was a foster care. And they were calling in from Illinois. Anyway, I've had 5 social workers talk on this live stream, which is great. And I have no problem with hearing from anybody, including the police. If you police want to call in here, you're more likely to. The problem being is that the rest of the social workers turn out to be bad apples. Bad apples. They're not transparent, and they certainly are very deceiving. Now, I do want to say a couple things about this podcast. Let me get my phone here and look at my notes here. Okay. We're very passionate about this live stream, about bringing you the information you need, sharing the stories to raise awareness, inspire and fight CPS to keep correcting the content you love. We need your support. Production costs are rising, and every contribution makes a difference. So, what we're asking for is some help. We're asking you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, CPS Defense Strategy with Vincent Davis. And I want to thank you for being a part of my family and the community there. Now, here at the bottom of my page, whoops, I lost it, is how you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You go to the YouTube channel, Defense Strategy Consultant, Vincent Davis, and you can pick one of these types of memberships. Hold on, let me get that for you. Now we're going to start this monthly CPS newsletter. And right now it's $1.99 per month. It'll be automatic charged to your card. The newsletter will contain theories and articles by me, Bob Pace, and CPS news from around the country or internationally. Articles by Attorney Vincent Davis on how to beat CPS. Articles by Attorney Vincent Davis on how to sue CPS. A look into the lives of me, Bob Pace, Attorney Vincent Davis, and Mrs. G, and other platform hosts. Discute compounds for legal consultants with Attorney Mr. Davis. Now, when you sign up for the newsletter, they'll get the newsletter, of course. They'll get 3 bonuses: a private newsletter for the Facebook group, a free copy of Vincent Davis' book, The Secret How to Fight CPS and Win, and 3, a monthly call newsletter group, which include a live question and answers with Attorney Davis and current members of the group. And that will be coming in. So that is for only $1.99. So if you could help us out, that would be great. That would be great. So I'm scrolling across the bottom. The YouTube channel that you want to subscribe to. It's only $1.99 a month. And it really would help. Now, you've reached this live stream, and I'm glad you did. You found us on Facebook, Fighting CPS with Bob Pace. And there are several ways you can participate in this live stream interactive live stream that is coming across to you. One way is just by being in here, and you can listen, take notes, and please send emojis, smiley faces, thumbs up. We already have somebody give me a thumbs up already. Tam Hickey. Thank you, Tam, very, very much. That's nice of you. Hearts and smiley faces, and also send me stars. Please check below to follow me, and also, if you want to be notified when I'm on, check the notification button there. Now, if you want to text in a message to me, all you have to do is show your first name and your city or your county and your state, and you're from another country, your country, and then your message. Your message should be either a comment or a question about CPS. Also, try to make sure you include what your case is about. Start from the beginning and tell me where you're at the moment, like the number of kids, what you were charged with, what happened when they showed up, what they do, all that on the first message, and then you continue to talk to me in the room. And I love that. I love having it because I can answer your questions. I don't want to just do all talking. I like to have you all come in and say something and text something there and stuff. So those are the comments. Now, if you want to be a guest on my live stream, I hope you do. All you have to do is email my show producer, Grace at VincentWDavis.com. Grace at VincentWDavis.com. You pick a time and a date. You say, I want to be Bob's Saturday show, his Friday show. I want to be on his evening or morning. That's all you have to say. And she'll glad you get you on that one. She'll give you a link. You'll sign on to StreamYard, which is the application I use. And then you'll be able to talk with me and anybody else. I can take up to 9 guests on here at one time, including me makes 10. And I've had 4. I think it's about the most we've had at one time. But it's nice because you can talk. You don't have to, wait or anything like that. But we want you also to help people in the room because the room people are still talking. They're still talking. And so it's important. Everybody's CPS case is important. They have interrupted your life as a parent. You know nothing about CPS. Is it caught you off guard? It isn't taught in public schools or in high school or in college. And I think there should be a life skill class that happens every semester while you're in your schooling, from preppy K to preschool, then preppy K, then kindergarten, and then grades 1 through 5. Now, middle school is grades 6 through 8th. So, these life skills could be a class every day for these students. In the primary schools, bullying is a big problem. Also, safety, walking to and from school, with your bike. There's a lot of life skills I can help and talk about. Then as you move further up the grades, you can be in high school or junior high, or not junior high, but middle school, and learn about dating and learn about other things, the drugs, the sex, and stuff like that. It's important you be well versed and well told on. So those are kind of life skills, but one of the most important life skill is how to deal with CPS. And that can be taught later in high school when you talk about marriage and dating. It can be also talked about in college because you need to know how to operate in CPS. They can be a very dangerous entity. And the ones that are rogue are not fair to you. They do it solely because of money. It is a money thing to them. And that's why there's so many people with these bad cases. So please be a guest on my podcast. Now, my phone number is up. That means I can take calls now. I can take calls right now at 626-698-0990. I love to have you talk on my podcast. It's very, very nice. And so you can call in, and when you call in, I'll put you on speakerphone. And then you can ask your questions or help other people in the room. You can ask me a question or help other people in the room. Now, I don't like to do a lot of talking, but a lot of times I have to because dead silence isn't nice when you walk into a room. But really helps me is when you call in or you're a guest or you text me messages. I can talk about a lot of topics. I'm not an attorney. I'm a loving father. I've raised 6 children, and have 42 years of marriage experience. And yes, I too had trouble with CPS. They stole my 3 young children, and it was bad what they had to go through. And I imagine it's bad what you're going through. There's a lot of things I didn't know. I've developed 5 rules. Basically, they're the rule about getting an attorney. Rule number 2 is about documentation. Rule number 3 is to say no to social workers or police. Don't talk to them. Rule number 4 is how to use the internet and the correct verbiage of how to search. And rule 5 is to gather all your important documents, make copies, and have it handy. Those are the 5 rules. I've talked very briefly. I will talk more in depth. Also, every live stream that's recorded, you'll see those 5 rules in depth. Now, CPS cannot be trusted. My child was retaliated by a social worker. Yes, that's true. And it hurts me every time to talk about it. So right now I don't want to talk about it. But anyway, she retaliated. She lied. She was caught with a lie in court, and she could be very easily sued. You have to understand, social workers are corrupt. They're not your friend. They're not your friend. Excuse me. Okay, I also can talk about topics. There's lots of things to learn in CPS. I can share with you of how to file a 388 motion, or how to do a 160 hearing, or how to look for an attorney. There's lots of topics, like what is the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. So there's lots of topics that I can talk about. I also have a resource where I go to a resource called Cora Digest. Now, Cora Digest is a interacting web page that talks about topics of interest to people. It gives a question and then an answer, and you can see if you agree to the answer or not. One of the topics is, can CPS interview my child at school without my knowledge? Why is CPS so strongly against people getting their children back? What are some financial mistakes when you're dealing with CPS? If you do not let the CPN per the Fourth Amendment, I hope you lose your children. Don't you realize it's a civil matter, not a criminal matter? You refuse to let them in against you. Why can't people CPS to help them? CPS does not always help. You end up losing your children real fast. What are common ways CPS workers misrepresent parents? The reason why I'm bringing all that, this is another forum that we can talk about. I try to make it different for every live stream that I talk on, because talking for an hour is hard. It can put you to sleep if you're not careful. So that's why I find it very nice if I have a guest or someone that calls in, because in that way it can change the monotony and it becomes very interesting. I'm here to help you. You do not know what you're dealing with CPS. Here's some examples. There's a group of CPS workers in Prescott, Arizona. Now, Prescott, Arizona is known for the Billy Jack movies of the late 60s, 70s. It was a radical movie, and it talked about radical times. We had a lot going on those years. Anyway, 8 social workers who have been working a long time in Prescott decided to purchase 8 pink t-shirts and wear them. Well, wearing pink t-shirts is not the problem. In fact, that's breast awareness. You're just trying to learn about breasts. But what they did is they stenciled on the front and back. And on the front, they put professional child kidnappers. And on the back, they said, "Parents, do you know where your children are at?" Now, that was terrible. That was terrible that they did that. And luckily now the children have been rescued and so forth. But you got to really be careful, because CPS will not stop at anything, which is sad. Which is sad. Now, if you're a guest on my live stream or call into my live stream, good news. You can talk to Vincent Davis free for 15 minutes. All you have to do is be a guest on my live stream, or talk to me on the speakerphone on my phone. That gives you a 15 minutes of free time with Mr. Davis. He will talk to you. Also, if you want to talk longer to Mr. Davis, longer than 15 minutes, I have a special discount of $60 for 30 minutes. All you have to do is go to this website. It's scrolling across the bottom. https://candidly.com/com/ And so that's another way. Now, a third way, if you're already to hire Mr. Davis, All you have to do is go to 888-888-6582 and call in. Make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, make sure you tell him I sent you. Now, good evening, Cruel. She is also known as Felicia. She's in Ventura, California, and she has two of her grown-up children that have babies, but they're trying to take her grandchildren away, which is really sad. She's hired Mr. Davis to help that not happen. What's the latest, Felicia, on your case? And welcome. She's from Ventura, California. Are you hearing me okay, Felicia? Oh, good. You can hear me. Now, you've not seen your babies, your grandchildren, since September 15th, 2024. That's a long time. And what is the reason you can't see your grandchildren? Why can you not see your grandchildren? Mm. Maybe you can share that with our listeners. Okay, Cruel, that'd be great. Now, Cruel, well, I'm kind of confused. I thought your son and daughter each have children, and that's what you're worried about. Your daughter and son are older than 18. So I'm really confused now, Cruel. You've got me confused again. I know you're 29, but didn't you have a grown up son and daughter and they had children? I don't think that's Akima, but okay. So tell me more. I've been talking to you for a long time, so somehow I got you confused. So you have how many babies that are yours biologically? You're the mother. So maybe you can help me out here, Cruel, because I thought you had two. I thought they were grandchildren. So you actually have children yourself. So where's the father? What happened to the father? And what about your son? I'm yeah. Anyway, I think I'm confused, Cruel. The phone line's open, so everybody wants to call in, please do so. Oh, I know what it is, Cruel. It's Margaret. Margaret, I'm so sorry. You're right, Cruel. You're so right. Margaret from Missouri. She has two children. She's a grandmother and her baby. I understand now. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, Cruel. I forgot about that. Okay, and their dad is incarcerated. Okay. Now it's refreshing my memory. After talking over 1,000 people, it's sometimes hard to separate. So I do apologize. I know there's other people in my family. We have KK Richardson, we have Margaret, we have Betty from Montana, Margaret from St. Louis, Akima Richardson from Brooklyn, New York. We have a lot of family members. We have JD from Los Angeles, California. He was on this morning, but didn't really ask too much. I do have a big family here. And again, Cruel, I'm so sorry. I had you confused with Margaret. I had you confused with Margaret. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, Cruel. Yeah, thank you. I thought I'd lose my mind now. Okay, again, if you want to call in, we can have a listener talk about their case. And if you want to text me a question, I can try the answer as best as I can. I can try the answer as best as I can. You're going to find that CPS is not transparent. And I strongly urge you get a professional attorney who's licensed and trained in the area of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law, and that has fought CPS and gotten the children back. That's the kind of attorney you want. And a lot of you say, well, they gave me an attorney. The attorney they give you, a court appointed attorney or a public defender, is a waste of time because they'll not work for you. They work for CPS. They're hired by CPS, and they're certainly not going to fight for your case. They have over a 30 caseload or more because CPS keeps them busy. And they won't have time to talk to you outside of the courtroom. And that's hard because I know a lot of you are honest, good natured people, but CPS cannot be trusted. They do alienation and they do trafficking. They do retaliation. My daughter was retaliated. Our husband and wife, our daughter was being tried to be adopted by my wife's sister and husband, which we did not want it to be. We want our daughter to come back. Okay, we got someone calling in. Hello, and I see you're from California. Who do I have the pleasure of talking to? Oh, hi, Felicia. How are you? Yeah, I need to turn you up here a little bit. It keeps popping out every time I raise the Volume. Talk again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Now, you're from California, right, Felicia?
Yes.
Okay. And what county or city?
I'm in Oxnard City in Ventura County.
Okay. You by any chance don't know Cruel in Ventura County, do you?
No, I am her.
I know you are. I'm just being silly.
Oh,
Never
okay.
mind. Cruel's name is Felicia. So Cruel is called in. I'm glad you did. Why don't you give the latest of what your case is about, Felicia?
Yeah, sure. So my rights were terminated last July 18th,
You got to
2024.
speak closer to your microphone. You're fading in and out.
Okay. Oh yeah, I could do that. Is this better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so my rights and my reunification services were terminated July 18th. My case was open June in 2023. I was hospitalized in the week after I gave birth to my daughter. At the same time, my daughter's dad was already incarcerated by the time I gave birth, so I was alone. And then, so yeah, after or during the hospital maternity stay, the social workers approached me and, found what they could. And then ended up having, after doing 6 months, well, it's 4 months. By the time my 6-month review came along, it was only 4 months that I had done my services, but the judge didn't understand or didn't know anything about the fact that I was hospitalized for a month after I gave birth to my daughter, and then I couldn't get a medical clearance due to my illnesses and diagnosis. And so I couldn't get a medical clearance to participate in patient services until almost 3 months after anybody told me to participate in these services. However, I did do everything else. I did an outpatient program. I got signed up with the Ventura County Behavioral Health for their substance abuse treatment. I'm still doing intensive outpatient therapy and domestic violence counseling. NA. I've been in NA. I have an NA home group that just celebrated a year at the beginning of February. My case went through the Court of Appeals recently. The decision was given February 11th, I think. So it's February 11th. And the judge, due to the fact that my court-appointed appellate attorney waived my right for oral argument without consulting me. So that day went and, has come and gone by now, but I wasn't able to speak in front of the judges or testify.
Well, you won't be able to speak in the judges until you fire your court-appointed attorney. Anybody that has attorney, whether it's court-appointed or the real attorney that you should have, cannot speak. It's through the attorneys that speak.
Yeah, well, she sent me a letter saying that she's not going to represent me anymore because the judges made that decision to side with the initial judges who, were in agreement with the social workers, which was terminate my rights and my reunification services. And then my dad and my stepmom inquired about adopting my kids. So that's what they're trying to do.
Do you want your dad and mom to adopt your... How many kids is it? 2. Okay. Do you want your dad and mom to adopt them?
No, I never did. What I think happened with my dad and my stepmom is I think that because the social workers, they had brought up a permanent plan. They brought up permanency early, really, really early on. So my daughter went from the hospital to my dad's house because I was in the hospital when the social hours after I was admitted into the ICU, and she said, "Hey, your daughter's ready to go home. What do we do?" And I was like, "Well, she definitely can't come here."
Well, what is the reason they don't let you see
to,
your daughters? How come they don't let you see your babies?
Apparently, it's at the discretion of my dad and my stepmom, who obviously are not on my side, and they're just not on my side. They're just not on my team, and so I don't know. Really, it's kind of like been an ongoing mystery.
Have you asked them? I mean, now that your attorney's gone, you can be pro se and talk to them. Have you asked them?
They say that, well, the only information that they're going off of is what the judge has as well. And so, the judge decided how he did. And if I were them, I told them, if I were you, knowing what you know, I would think the same thing. But there's a lot that they don't know that would impact their opinion or their decision or whatever. But they don't want to hear it. They don't give it time. They don't want to hear nothing about how I've actually been doing things. Like, the entire time I've been participating in any of my services, they think I've done nothing. The judge also believes that, which is why he sided with the social worker's recommendation. But the social workers recommended what they did because that's the direction that they wanted to go. Not really what's in the best interest of myself or my kids, obviously. But like, for example, the social worker reported in her case report once or twice that the kids easily parted from me after our visits, but that's not the case. Like, my dad actually called me on several evenings once my kids were placed with them, telling me to come to their house ASAP because my son wouldn't stop screaming. They can't get him to stop crying. My daughter's a different story because, like I said, she's been there since she was born. So her and I, the attachment or the bond is not as great as my son and I.
Well, that's because of maybe the separation, maybe?
Right. No, yeah, it definitely was because when she was born, immediately after I was put on magnesium sulfate for supposed postpartum preeclampsia. And so I guess the magnesium sulfate is supposed to be their treatment for that, but it also puts you out, like out. Like you would have thought I was on like some anesthetic, like local anesthesia or something, because I couldn't keep my eyes open for crap. I couldn't carry a conversation. I would wake up and say hi to a nurse, and then all of a sudden my eyes are opening and nobody's in my room.
Oh boy!
So they took my daughter to the NICU because I couldn't care for her properly, which, that was the initial reason. That's what I was under the impression of when they took her there. So they took her about 24 hours after she was born. I agreed. I almost suggested it before they did, but, I agreed because I can't do my job and somebody else has to do it for me. Anyways, I agreed to that. But then the second day, they came back and they say, "Oh, your daughter's she's experiencing symptoms of withdrawal." And I'm like, "Well, how? How? So they say that they're doing this, and that to her. She didn't leave the NICU, like I said, until I was hospitalized.
Are they say you're on drugs?
She went home and she's been fine.
No. Are they say you're on drugs?
Yeah, so the nurses in the ER, I delivered my daughter in the ER because I was taken by ambulance. And so, like, almost immediately after we arrived to the hospital, my daughter was like, "Hello, world." And so the issue at the hospital was when they were prepping me, the nurses in my room had almost immediately began to interrogate me. What's your drug of choice? When's the last time you used? How long has it been since the last time you used? All this, that, and third. And this is the only conversation we had prior to my daughter coming into the world. And so, not only that, so I think that obviously the notes that they made was reviewed by the doctors, and everything went prior to me getting to the the point where I was in the ER like every night.
Well,
So the doctors or the
who
physicians in the ER
who contacted CPS?
I'm assuming it's the nurses or whatever mandated reporter is the next chain of command from a nurse, an ER nurse.
Well, yeah, it'd be the nurses. So they called. Now, why'd they call CPS? What harm? They thought because you're doing drugs that you may have drugs in the baby?
Right.
Now, what kind of drugs did they identify?
Amphetamine and marijuana.
And did you have amphetamine or marijuana in you?
I know that I smoked marijuana.
Okay.
Both times.
Yeah.
Both pregnancies until I knew I was pregnant, and then after that, I cut cold turkey everything until it was safe for me after the fact. But it's only been 2 times then.
Well, that's you're quite young,
first experience I had was impeccable.
Right. The drug thing is neglect. That's what you did. That's not right. The children are not supposed to do marijuana or drugs until they're much, much older. And illegal drugs are not supposed to do at all. So what's happened is that I see what they did now. They alerted CPS. Now, did CPS develop a plan with you?
No, not really. They were just but they were pushing for me to go into an inpatient treatment with both of my babies. And I was really down for it from the jump, because in the hospital immediately after she was born, I knew that I had to get more of my ducks in a row. And so they offered me a place to live, which I needed a place to live, and they said I could take my kids and I would get help, so I agreed. I didn't know I was going to be hospitalized again for a month after I gave birth, or after I left maternity anyways. So,
well, what was the reason? What was the reason you're hospitalized? What was the reason you're hospitalized? What did you? Is it because you're not because of the drugs? Was it?
No, it was actually the nurse's fault, because they put an IV in the back of my hand, and I told the nurses in maternity, this is irritated, it's annoying and it's painful, and I asked them to relocate the IV somewhere else on my body, they wouldn't do it. They just kept putting layers of tape on my hand. So when I was hospitalized towards the end of my 1 month long stay, the infectious disease physician and myself and the other doctors and physicians who were treating me throughout that month, we all kind of concluded that the source of the infection, which developed into severe sepsis, only a half a step below septic shock. They said that it most likely would have came from that injection site, because when I left maternity, it scabbed, it looked gross, it felt disgusting, it looked like it could have gotten me sick, and it infected.
Yeah. So, are you able to use an attorney, or are you stuck using the court-appointed attorney?
I'm pretty stuck, as far as my situation goes. I don't have anything. I don't really have much to my name or anything like that. But
well, have you thought about your parents helping you? Would your parents help you?
No, my dad. My dad is my dad.
You have a falling out with your mom and dad, right? You have a falling out with your dad, right?
I'm sorry?
You have a falling out with your dad, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think so, but I guess we did.
Oh boy. But that is a tough one.
And my mom has become a dependent adult. She has a severe mental illness. This just became a thing literally the day my daughter was born. It became a known
who has the kids now? Who has the kids?
My dad and my stepmom.
Okay. Well, at least they're not in foster care. I'm not saying that's a good thing. But if they're in foster care,
I've pondered and I considered that, and honestly, like, I think that if strangers were to have my kids, it would have been a way better, at least moving forward, But because
well, it depends if you
I
get
don't
the
really
right
know,
if you get the right
but I'm
strain.
pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better for myself, anyways, if they went with strangers instead of with people who have all these reservations or,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me do this, Felicia. It's it's 8 o'clock now, and I need to close down the live stream.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not trying to rush you off, but I'm so glad you talked again. Now, have you talked at all to Mr. Davis?
No, I emailed Georgette like you told me to, and I'm still waiting for her to email me back. I think I emailed her I think it was last Friday now, maybe or Monday.
And she has not gotten back to you again?
No, not to my knowledge, and I definitely checked.
Hold on, Felicia. Let me find you in my database here. What is your area code?
Okay. My area code is 805. Or my zip code, my area code.
I'm sorry, your phone area code. I'm trying to find you there. What date was it you said?
It's 805.
Yeah, it is 805. I know that because Santa Barbara is 805. Let me see the phone messages here. Hold on. Okay, I'm trying to find. You said it was last Friday?
When I called you or when I emailed her?
When you emailed her. Well, not when she would come. I do this up. Let me see if I can find your name here, Felicia. Here, let me go through her list. I hope I didn't forget you is what I'm getting at.
Oh no, that's all right. Well, anyways, yeah, I did email her. But I could try to call her. No, not tomorrow. I could try to call her.
Does she have a number?
In the next couple of days.
Does she,
yeah.
You have her number?
I talked to her on the phone.
Okay, you have talked to her. Okay,
yeah.
Good. What you need to do is you just touch base, say, I'm touching base. I'd like to speak to Mr. Davis. Do you know when it might be? And leave it at that, okay?
Okay.
Good. So there's communication. I know sometimes they're busy. It may take more than a week to schedule a time with them.
Yeah, that's all right.
But maybe he can.
Yeah, I get it.
Maybe he can suggest some ideas, okay?
Yeah, because I feel like I've run out of a lot of like options and resources. I've resorted to just sitting down with. I have a copy of the California, like the Supreme Court and the local courts, like rules and regulations and everything. So I can sit open on my laptop whenever I have time.
I want to thank you for calling in, Felicia, and I do apologize if I forgotten. I got you confused with somebody else, and I apologize.
Oh, no.
So
it's all right. I totally get
it. That is good. I want to thank some people that gave some emojis. Michelle Crossman Hughes and Tom Hickey. Thank you very much. And again, all my listeners, I'll be on again tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, not 10 o'clock. It's Saturday. I'll be on at 8 o'clock in the morning. That is Pacific Standard Time. So please tune in tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Keep fighting for your kids. Don't give up. Do not give up. And I'm here twice a day. So don't panic. There's plenty of time to talk about your case. God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.